Hello and welcome to the Mad Madam Mel podcast. My name is Mel and I am a yarn dyer living on the Orkney Islands off the north coast of Scotland. And if you are new here, then hi, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, then welcome back and thank you for watching. And yep, if you're new around here, I am a yarn dyer, like I said, and I live on a small holding, also known as a small homestead, on an island basically. And yeah, that's kind of who I am. I do mostly spinning, knitting with a bit of spinning, and I haven't really shown much spinning on the podcast lately, but I'm hoping to remedy that at some point this year because I have a couple of big projects planned involving hand spun yarn. But for now we'll be sticking with the knitting, and I only have 2 projects to show this week, mostly because I've been fairly monogamous on my knitting and they are quite large items, both of them being garments. A little bit of admin before we get to those, and just to say that I still have the closing down sale running in my Etsy shop for my hand dyed yarns, and everything is now like 50% off, and thank you everybody who's been helping me reduce down my stock and what would be potentially future stash. And I already have a large yarn stash, so thank you very much for helping me reduce down what I already have, what I'll have in the future. But yes, everything else is now marked down 50% off. Also, any orders placed next week will go out the following week because I will be away visiting family in Northumberland in the north of England. We had a family bereavement at the beginning of the month and I will be going down to visit other family members, and yeah, so as soon as I get back, any orders placed next week will be shipped out. Okay, on to the knitting stuff, which is what you're here for really. So first item, which one should we go with first? I think I'll go with the new cast on actually. I mentioned, oh, the zipper. I mentioned in my spring knits video, my plans for my spring knitting, that I was casting on this item, and I have already knit most of the body, and it is this very spring-like colorwork yoke sweater. Cardigan rather, not sweater, but I am knitting it in the round with a steek. It has these bold yellow flowers on this white background, and actually I really like this I don't even know what you call it, but where you're alternating your colours for every single stitch in the top and bottom of the yoke. I have knit most of the body now, and I need to knit this onto a longer cable later on today so that I can try it on. I've done a little bit of waist shaping and I just need to check if I'm at the point where I need to kind of sweep it back out again for the hips. The design, well, it's kind of 2 patterns in one. I've taken the yoke pattern from one design and I have used that onto the body of another design. So I'm just trying to close these patterns up so I don't show the charts. The yoke design is a pattern called Oland, and it is this cardigan here, and the design is by Linnea Ornstein, but the design has very few sizes. I think it only has 3 sizes, and yeah, the largest size I think is a 44-inch bust, and that's not taking into account any ease. But I did like this design, and I've had the pattern for quite a few years now on Ravelry along with the yarn. So what I did was I used a design that I've knit fairly recently, since Christmas anyway, of another sweater. And I don't know if I've got a picture of this one. Let's see if I can find a photo on this. Anyway, it's this Skogafjall sweater by Diana Waller, also known as Paper Tiger or Paper Tigers, and it is another colorwork sweater with a yoke with a tree design in it. And I did recently knit this with the same yarn that I'm knitting this cardigan with, almost the same yarn. The Skogafjall I knit with Drops Alaska and the Orland hybrid cardigan I'm knitting with Drops Nepal, and they're almost the same. Gauge wise they're the same. I would say the Nepal is fraction thinner, but it does knit up at the same gauge. So the gauge that I'm using for this is a 14 stitch and a 21 row per 4-inch square, and this is knit on a 6mm needle for the body and 5mm for the rib. And if you can hear noises in the background, I have a cat wandering around, clambering all over the radiator beside me, purring away, so I do apologise. The body is the Drops Nepal, like I said, which is a kind of I don't know, it's a mossy green with lots of little flecks and tones in it, and it is in colourway 7238, and the Drops Nepal is a 65% wool, 35% alpaca mix. And the colours used are, in the chart, is again the same base. The yellow is 2123, and the white, if I can find, there it is with the label on, is in colourway 1101, all Drops Nepal. So this is going to be a very thick, heavy, warm cardigan. Perfect when you live on an island in the spring and you want to be spring-like, but in reality it is quite cold still here. Although we did have snow up until last week and frosts, it's still quite cool and we get very cold winds here. So a heavyweight cardigan you can get away with wearing sort of like a dress and leggings and still feel kind of spring-like without being absolutely frozen. So I have separated for the sleeves, obviously, and my hair is everywhere because it gets everywhere these days, and I've just put those onto cables. Once I get the body to pretty much the length that I want, I will steek this and do the sleeves. I'm not sure on the length of this. I think I will probably make it hip length, which will make it a good length for wearing over a dress or a tunic. I don't think I'm going to make this as long as I did with the Skogafjall, but I will have to take into account that the Skogafjall did stretch in the blocking process. It made it a little bit longer. I really love the length now. I wasn't sure when I first blocked it, but I will have to be mindful of that with the cardigan. I don't want to make a hip length one then find out it's going to be past my butt once it's actually been blocked. So yes, that is the Orland Skogafjall hybrid cardigan. So the other project I've been working on is my bubble cardigan with the design by Stephen West, and it is huge. It's not as oversized as recommended, but it is still nice and cozy and oversized. I absolutely love this, and my husband John and my mum think, wow, that's a bit bright and bold for you, but in reality it isn't that. I mean, they're mostly jewel toned, and I do love kind of rich jewel toned and autumn toned colours. So I think when I last showed this, I had finished the body and I was halfway through both sleeves. Well, both sleeves are now completed, and I've even done the cuff. So I think I'd kind of done halfway on one sleeve and part on another, because I do have like an 11 bubble stitch repeat on this. I start with a gold, I fade through, come to gold, and away we go again. The design itself, I do have the pattern here somewhere. I think he used around 6 or 7 different colours, but you can use as many as you like, or as few as you like. I've seen some really nice monochrome ones as well. Let me just, I'm trying not to show the pattern. The design, like you see, is this nice drop sleeve shape with a big shawl collar that comes all the way up and around and back down again, and a nice wide waistband. Yes, waistband, and quite long cuffs. I'm not sure if there's a picture that shows how long they are, but I think he recommends around 6 inches of rib for the cuffs. And although I wasn't planning on doing that amount of rib, I think I've got quite close. Maybe 4.5 to 5 inches really on the cuffs. They are kind of down to, almost down to my knuckles, which is my preferred length for a cozy cardigan. And I have used the same gold yarn for the rib, which will be carried on throughout. It has the same gold in the I-cord cast on and the same gold repeating in the repeats. The yarns that I've used are a combination of a Advent mini skein set that I bought from, was it Pixie Yarns? Pixie Yarns a few years ago, obviously for Christmas Advent, and I'm mixing that up with hand-dyed mini skeins of my own. When I got to the sleeves, I was really struggling. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for colours and mixing little mini skeins together to make a colour. Let me try and find a good example of that. For example, this orange bubble stripe here has around 3 different coloured yarns in that. Things like that. And but I managed, and all I have left of these mini skeins, mine and the Advent, are this ball here and these. That is all I have left. And this one was a wild card. This one got thrown in just for the sleeves. That is all I have left. Tiny little scraps of yarn. I'm really happy with how well I managed to pull this one off. So yes, I have added a steek in this one as well, which the pattern doesn't call for, but it does make the knitting of it much quicker because I'm a much faster knitter than I am a purler. So I've done the v-neck, I did the top parts knitted flat, and then once I got to joining them to get all together, I joined in the round and carried on. And yeah, I'm really liking it. I thought I would hate doing all this rib, but I'm finding it actually relatively relaxing and mindless. I don't usually like it because it usually gives me shoulder pain, and I've managed to find, if I get in the right position on the sofa, like sitting, it doesn't give me the shoulder pain, but it's a struggle. I've already started the bottom rib as well. This is so like kind of floppity and large. It's a bit awkward. Oop, I've even got the needle sticking in my own sweater that I'm wearing now. But I have started the rib on the bottom, and I've knit just under 1 inch of the gold rib. I'm actually not sure how long the rib is for the bottom of the sweater. I think on his it looks around about 4 inches. You can kind of see that in the colour photograph, which I don't know why I didn't show earlier actually, which also shows the nice long cuffs and the shawl collar. It doesn't have buttons, it just has this kind of slouchy kind of shawl effect, look to it. So yes, I think it looks roughly around 4 inches with I think a 3-inch, not button band, but you know, what would be the button band. And yes, I am knitting this to gauge actually. I'm knitting it to 22 stitch gauge. My row gauge it's deceptive because it's so kind of stretchy. It's somewhere between 14 and 44 rows per 4 inch, but I am knitting it to gauge 22 stitches, and I think even on the recommended needle, yeah, 3.75, which is not a size that I use very often, I have to say. But I love it, and I can't wait to have this finished. It's going to be a lovely one of those cozy cardies to just kind of throw on when you want to go in, like our kitchen, because sometimes we get cold, if you just want to go in the kitchen to make a cup of coffee or something. The sleeves I had a bit of trouble with. It has a very rapid decrease on the sleeves because they are quite deep, the armhole. It has a rapid decrease, and I got so far on the first sleeve and decided the decreases from here to here meant that it felt quite snug on the arm. It was fitted, and I didn't want a fitted sleeve, not with a kind of a slouchy cardigan. So I did rip the sleeve back. I think I was up to about here. Ripped it back and stopped the decreases, and I just knit I think it was at that burgundy stripe. Stopped there and I just knit straight without any decreases. It kind of looks like it's decreases, but it's only the cuff that's pulling it in. And now it fits really, really nice. I don't think I made many changes on this. I knit the second size because other people had said that it does knit up very, very large. And when I checked the stitch count for the amount of stitches that would be on the around the bust, it didn't marry up with the size that the cardigan said it should be. And it didn't say that it included the positive ease recommended either. It was supposed to be the actual finished garment measurement. So I did go down 2 sizes, I believe, and knit size small, I think. Size small? Yeah, I knit size small. And when I did the sleeves, people also said they were very over large. I actually went down to an extra small. I knit the small, I picked up the stitches for the smallest size for the sleeves. Possibly if I'd stuck with the stitch count for the small, I wouldn't have had the issue with the snugness at the forearm, but it does kind of would have made it very kind of bulgy between the body and the sleeve. It would have been quite, I don't know, a little bit over large. So I went down as recommended by other project makers too. So I'm really, really happy with it. I can't wait to finish it, and even the rib is not bothering me, and I do not like knitting rib. So I'm really happy with it. So that is the sum total of my current projects that I'm actively working on. I do plan to take other projects with me when I am heading south next week, mostly because I want to travel as light as possible. I will be using public transport, so I will be taking mostly vanilla socks. I had thought about taking a lace sock pattern, but when I did little test swatches of the lace designs, I couldn't get a yarn that I wanted to marry up with the lace patterns. They just weren't showing up the patterns, so I just kind of gave up. I was getting very, very frustrated with it. So I will be actually working mostly on vanilla socks, which I haven't knit on for quite a while. I think I got a bit socked out when I was making lots of socks just before Christmas. But I will take a shawl pattern that I started back when I went down to the Scottish Yarn Festival, formerly Perth Yarn Festival, in September, which is my Humble Bee shawl by Fibre. And it is a beautiful shawl with little bees and flower designs in a wide, it's not really a border because there is more knitting after it, but it is a triangle shawl, mostly garter, and it has a wide pattern border towards the bottom with these flowers and bees made up of little like bobble stitches and caliper stitches, and then it has more garter at the bottom as well. I did cast it on, and I did a provisional cast on because I would like to use up all of the yarn. So I did a provisional cast on, I will be knitting up the garter, knit the shawl because it is knit bottom up, which I haven't actually done a triangular shawl knit bottom up before. And then if I've got any yarn left, which I should do, I will pick up those provisional stitches and carry on and finish up the yarn. It's a lovely yarn. It's actually it is a yarn that I actually bought at Perth Yarn Festival, Scottish Yarn Festival a few years ago when I was vending, and it is by the Wool Barn, and it is a merino cashmere nylon, and it is gorgeous. It's this lovely rich brown, and I don't know why I didn't carry on. I got myself in a bit of a pickle, I think, when I did the provisional cast on and the stitches, because I'm making it slightly bigger. I had to put on extra, not pattern repeats, but enough stitches to create extra pattern repeats for that pattern border, and I got myself confused as to where the centre stitches were and such like, so I had to kind of faff around, and I was just getting a bit frustrated with it. But I did manage to fix all that, and yeah, because the triangle shawl, I think the problem often with a triangle shawl is they're not quite wide enough to wrap around. They're okay if you want to wrap around your shoulders, but I like a shawl that you can wrap around your neck, so you'd have like the triangle at the front and then crisscross at the back and bring the ends round. And if it's not quite wide enough, you end up having to like tie a knot with the ends almost, just to keep them in position. Or drape it fancily and have a shawl pin, but you're kind of limited. I'd like that little bit of extra length. So I will be taking that because it's only 2 cakes, and the vanilla socks shouldn't take much yarn as well to be able to take, because I will be away for probably a week and a half, and I don't just want socks to knit on, I do want some options there. So I think that's probably it for this episode. I don't think there's anything real else to talk about. It's been a bit of a funny few weeks actually, because we did have a family bereavement. My nana passed away unfortunately at the beginning of the month, and although kind of semi-planned to go down at the end of the month for visiting, she just passed away very peacefully but quite quickly at the beginning of the month. So we'll be visiting my granddad and my brother and other family members whilst I'm in the north of England, and which will be really nice. I'm looking forward to that, and a few days away with mum, which is who I'll be staying with. Me and mum are both going south, although she's already there for the funeral, and it'll just be nice. And then a few days at mum's on the Scottish mainland in the Highlands on the way back up. So it's been a bit of busy few weeks and a bit kind of crazy chaos trying to organise transport and such like. It is a bit like a military operation trying to organise transport when you live on an island and you have to rely on ferries and trains and boats and buses and trams even. I'm travelling via tram across Edinburgh to catch my train, get my train connection to the north of England. So I think I should probably just leave it there. I have many preparations to do in the next week before I can travel south. So I will see you on the other side when I am back from the north of England, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.